What is going on? Welcome back. Season 3, baby. Season 3, 3rd and 20 podcast. Training camp has started, guys. We are finally fucking here. And boy, do we have an absolute ton on the agenda. We've got 2 full pages of notes in the notes section for this episode. I would like to preface this by saying these are reactionary takes. We're not going to agree with everything that we've seen in here. We'll try to decipher some of the stuff, but everything that is on the dock we have seen from the beat reporters, right? We are getting all of these sources from all of the beat reporters from around the league and the little highlight videos they post and things of that nature, right? So what's going on, guys? How we doing?
Oh, it is great to be back. We're another week closer to NFL preseason, NFL regular season. We got training camp news. It is a good day.
Yeah, the season feels closer. I still as of the last 2 weeks, viewed it as far away, but we're only 1 month away now.
Isn't there a game Thursday, or is that next Thursday?
No, there is a game Thursday. It's a Hall of Fame game. I think it's the Raiders and somebody.
The Jags. But they already said, which is kind of annoying, that Trevor and Etienne both won't be playing in it. I don't know on the Raiders side what they're going to do, but I kind of expected that.
All right, lads. So let's get into it. Crack open a nice cold one. Let's get ready to talk about some fresh, juicy
Diet
news.
Snapple.
Or a Diet Snapple. All right, let's start off. What's going on, Skull Dynasty? So, yeah, speaking of the Mac Jones dad bod that is over JT right now for his picture, we've got the New England Patriots. We are going to start off with the players that have been receiving hype. And because it's training camp, it's just about everyone. But first off, Tyquan Thornton and what's that dude that came from the Dolphins? Devante Parker, apparently both having very good camps so far. I've seen a lot of other stuff on a lot of the other Patriots receivers, but mainly Tyquan Thornton and Devante Parker are the 2 guys that seem to be really taking advantage of camp thus far. I personally think I'm a little bit higher on Tyquan Thornton than before. I mean, he's someone that I didn't necessarily love pre-draft, but I thought he was fine. You know, I think we all agreed that for the price you were getting him at in drafts, it was pretty good, right? Guy with second-round draft capital that was consistently falling to the third. I think I am personally higher on him than before with these reports and what I've been seeing, but I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, I have to agree on that one just because he's a guy that I picked up in a lot of rookie drafts in the 3rd round, just like you talked about. And I was kind of worried. Everyone thought it was kind of a reach for the Patriots to take this guy in the 2nd round just based off pretty much his 40 time. That's really what, jolted him up these boards. And just to see him actually producing and gaining chemistry with Mac Jones, being on the field with the ones, is something you want to see from a guy that got this 2nd round draft capital, even though you had some concerns about it being a reach and his skill set really fitting in with this Patriots offense. In terms of Devante Parker, though, I mean, I kind of expected it. I don't think you go out and give up a 3rd round pick if you're Bill Belichick. He's very savvy, always likes to get as many picks as possible, doesn't really give them away for no reason. And he goes out and gets Devante Parker, a guy that he's played twice a year for the past 5-6 seasons with him in Miami. And I just think he definitely had a role for him, and I think that's just what we're seeing moving forward in camp here.
I think Parker's pretty much locked in as one of those starting outside receivers. I mean, talent has never really been Parker's issue. It's mostly just been one, inconsistency, obviously, but the bigger part is injuries because he's always battling injuries throughout the season. So we'll see if he can stay healthy this year. He had that one great year in Miami in 2019, I want to say. I don't think he's going to get back to that ever again. But I think he can give you a solid flex player year if he stays healthy. As for Tyquan, I won't repeat too much because I pretty much agree with everything you guys said. I became higher on him once. If Belichick's investing a 2nd round pick into someone, I know everyone's just going to point to, he did a first for N'Keal Harry. He did give also N'Keal Harry every chance to succeed with the starters. And Tyquan, he's already getting the first team reps. I'd be encouraged. I thought getting him anywhere in the 3rd round was a great pick.
So outside of Tyquan Thornton and Devante Parker, and I've seen a couple of the back end guys doing all right as well. Is there any concern for a guy like Jacoby Myers right now with the Patriots?
A little bit. How many how many receivers do we think Mac Jones can support in fantasy? And along with Hunter Henry's his favorite red zone target. At least last season he was, and he's still there. He's healthy. He'll be there. So I do have some concern. Maybe like Tyquan Thornton isn't ready right away. Parker deals with some injury issues, and you can see some weeks he does really well. But like if like Thornton, Parker, Myers, Henry are all healthy, I don't feel great about having Myers as like a set-in starter entering the season if I'm trying to compete. He's someone I'd more so like to rotate in for injuries and bye weeks. I don't feel great if he's my starting flex receiver if I'm trying to compete this season.
You just
guys?
agree, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, listen, all these Pats receivers are, have their ceiling capped. I think this team's going to run the ball a whole lot.
Yep.
You're going to see a lot of Ramondre Stevenson, a lot of Damian Harris, maybe mixing the rookies they got, Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris. So I think this team is going to do, give everything for Mac Jones to succeed. But I think that's just going to be more of not a game manager role, but not expecting him to do too much. I think they're going to open the playbook a little bit compared to last season, and that's why they went out and added guys like Devante Parker and Tyquan Thornton, get that deep ball threat that they really were missing last year. But I don't expect this Pats offense to change significantly. Put it that way.
All right, I guess the next topic of business is going into the Jaguars training camp. Snoop, Connor, Travis Etienne, and Christian Kirk have kind of been the three big stars right now in that training camp. Outside of Trevor Lawrence, it looks like Trevor Lawrence is having a pretty darn good training camp as well. But for the most part, every single Jags running back seems to be trending up, which isn't going to last forever, but every single one of those players has been getting a lot of traction. And then Christian Kirk seems to be a guy that is being used all over the field and is getting a plethora of targets compared to the other receivers right now in Jags camp.
Go ahead, Jake.
I've been against a lot of these guys for a while. I mean, I just think they went out and overpaid Christian Kirk. I don't think he's a guy that's really going to succeed trying to be that number one guy. I understand he had a solid year in Arizona, but that was always just as the number two guy, whether that's behind DeAndre Hopkins or whatever it may be. And then Etienne and Snoop Connor, listen, you're forgetting James Robinson, who's also got a little bit of camp hype this week. He's been healthy. He's been playing with the ones. He's been the starting running back really during camp. So to come out and, expect Etienne to immediately take over that job and even have Snoop Connor just be a handcuff even is a stretch for me. I think James Robinson's going to get more run in this offense than people think. And I continue to say that just because he's a good running back. He's had 2,000-yard seasons. I think he was on pace for it last year before he got hurt. So like I was not a James Robinson fan when he was an undrafted free agent, and he's just proved me wrong time and time again. So I'm done disbelieving in him, and I just think people have to realize James Robinson's a good football player, and he's going to get his fantasy points despite who's there.
I'm less of a believer in James Robinson, especially coming off that injury. I'm buying some of these.
I like his injuries. We've seen guys come back from quicker than we've seen guys that have had Etienne's injury. So
that's fair.
The injury thing is whatever to me.
That leads to my next point. Right now with Etienne, like just his first fully healthy training camp coming back from the when he suffered his injury, I don't really care too much at this point about the 1s and 2s reps. I think I care more so about like the reporter saying like, oh, he looks healthy. And we'll obviously have to see that like in games if he does look healthy. I think if he is, he's no like disrespect to James Robinson, but if Etienne's healthy from what he was in college, he's the more talented running back in multiple facets. I just think he's the better one. I think if he is healthy, he's going to eventually take the starting job. I don't know when it'll be. Lawrence and him already have chemistry, especially in the receiving game, which Etienne projected to be a good receiving back in the NFL coming out. I think that's the only thing for me with Etienne. I only care about if he looks fully healthy. The rest, I think, like the starting reps, they'll eventually come. How do you feel, Frank?
Well, hold on. I'm trying to pull up the right team This isn't the right team. But man, I feel like it's really no surprise what we're seeing here, because the more we see all these different running backs getting hyped because they all seem to be trending up, the more it reminds me of this classic Doug Peterson Eagles style football team where you have a rotation of running backs. Not to say that they won't be productive, because this could be a team that uses their running backs in a lot of different ways. We saw how Darren Sproles was good on the Eagles in the passing game, and we saw how guys like
Jordan
Howard at times, and like a whole bunch of random ass running backs, Jay Ajayi,
all of them.
Yeah,
Same
like
rookie year.
Just tons and tons of different running backs have like decent success. Not necessarily that they're out here RB1s of fantasy football, but definitely playable players. And then you have that like one good receiver. That just to me seems to be what this offense is shaping up to be. So the more I see the hype around the running backs, the more I feel that their upsides are down from what I thought before. And I think that this might just be bad news for everyone not named Christian Kirk that's a receiving option. Just because I'm not really sure how much we can trust the consistency of this passing game and just the consistency of the targets, especially if a guy like Etienne is going to soak up a good amount of targets. Christian Kirk looks like he's going to soak up a good amount of targets. As of right now, they've been rotating tight ends. I wouldn't be surprised if they rotate a lot of their receiver sets as well. So even though I love guys like Zay Jones and Treadwell started playing well last year, and you have you have Chenault, and then you got that dude
Marvin
Jones. It's like,
I forgot. Yeah, he's there too.
I just, the more I look at it, the more I don't want any of these receiving options, which is a little bit different than before. I thought maybe coming to the season that there might be value here, but the only one I want is named Christian Kirk. The other ones I'll probably sell at cost if possible.
Yeah, and the last comment I want to make on Etienne, I do agree with the rotating backs. So James Robinson will be a presence in the rushing game. Where I feel kind of encouraged about Etienne, especially in half PPR or full PPR leagues. Doug Peterson has always used running backs in the receiving game. We saw it with Darren Sproles, Boston Scott. If you remember, like the 1 year stint of Corey Clement, he randomly went off in the Super Bowl, but like he was used in the receiving game. I don't see any of those other running backs being like decent receivers unless James Robinson can show that he can be. But so I think a lot of those routes and reps are going to go to Etienne. I think that's where you can get decent value with him. But we have to see. He has to be fully healthy.
He could easily have a DeAndre Swift-esque type of season where a lot of
like
that
him and Jamal Williams. I think it's a good.
But he's not really the greatest runner in terms of efficiency between the tackles, but he's still able to have a pretty solid fantasy output. Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't really be shocked at that. But problem is that the price is high. It's not like you're getting Etienne any sort of discount. You got to pay up essentially top 10 running back price to acquire him from anyone in your leagues, which I'm just not comfortable doing right now.
I'm not going out and buying him. It's just more so like if I have him, I feel pretty decent about it, but he's not like a buy for me right now. I want to wait and just see how his value goes.
Yeah, it's just the time to buy is passed up. It feels like the price has just gotten too high, the hype is too out of control. Joe Herbert, what's going on, dude? All right, let's get into it. The Steelers rookie receivers, mainly George Pickens, is looking like the dude. He's been getting a lot of hype, making a ton of plays, looking really physical like we saw at Georgia. And at the same time, Calvin Austin, the other rookie receiver, has also been getting a little bit of hype, looking really shifty, being involved in a lot of those Matt Canada classic jet sweeps and little things of that nature. So as of right now, and once again, this is early, but it looks like the Steelers found more gold in the middle rounds with their receivers.
Yeah. Like
this is nothing. This is nothing new. We've seen this year in and year out with the Steelers and drafting wide receivers. My guy George Pickens looks like an absolute stud. So
yeah, I'm really pissed off. I don't have any shares of George Pickens.
I have like
the price is just
5. I have so many.
Yeah, I wanted to acquire him early in the offseason too. It's just I felt like all those late firsts, like I didn't have any of those pick 8 to 10s. I was either 11 or I traded up from 11 to get a guy like Treylon. I feel like that's what happened every time.
Would you guys rather have Skyy Moore or Pickens right now?
Pickens. I mean, it was always Pickens for me. I took him.
Yeah. No, you've been consistent with that.
Oh, that's tough, dude.
It's hard for me right now.
If I'm gonna lean talent, I'm gonna lean Pickens. So I think I am. I like both. Dude, this receiver class looks insane. I'm just gonna come out and say this receiver class.
We haven't even seen at least who I think is talent-wise the most talented receiver in the draft play yet. In training camp, Jameson Williams.
But like all the receivers.
Drake London play football.
I watched Drake London's looking great as well.
He's looked good. I don't think it'll be bad. I just think Jameson Williams is a beast, and we haven't even seen him yet. So,
but yeah, I am definitely higher on Pickens and Calvin Austin a little bit. I mean, I'm not really looking to go out and acquire Calvin Austin. He's just one of those players where it's like some of those later round guys. It's just a little bit too much to get the dude to move off of him. In a lot of those scenarios, it's like, oh, well, he's probably worth a fourth, but who's going to trade him for a fourth? And do I really want to give up a third? Probably not. So,
yeah.
But George Pickens, I'm going to try and acquire, even if his price has gone up at Lunas.
Yeah, I meant to get back.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's like from Taken. Good luck. After he does the whole spiel on the phone. All right, next topic. Trey Lance, Brandin Aiyuk. As of right now, the stars of the show from 49ers camp outside of Deebo Samuel signing that new deal. So impromptu Deebo Samuel, he's fine. Woohoo, yeah. He's going to be running back again.
Yeah, I was going to say he dismissed the rumors about like the running back stuff that he didn't want to get as many carries. He came out and said he's like,
because you see what they did. You see,
how convenient was that, right? You get paid, you have the running incentives, and all of a sudden he's okay to be a running back again.
Yeah. Just good for Deebo owners. Anyone who has Deebo, you should just be rooting for him to get as many touches as possible, whether it's catches or runs. He's so explosive.
All right, but yeah, Trey Lance apparently has been. I feel like at first people were saying he was struggling, but then the past couple practices, everyone's been like, "Oh my God, did you see this throw from Trey Lance to Brandin Aiyuk?"
To me, all these reports on Trey Lance, you're gonna see both. You're gonna see the good, the bad, and the ugly from him. Like you're just gonna get the rookie mistakes. You're gonna see the bad interceptions. You're gonna see the crazy plays where he flashes his legs. You're gonna see the crazy plays where he flashes his arm. It's just going to be the ups and downs of Trey Lance, and I think you're going to see this all the way through the season, and I don't think that means anything towards his fantasy value, honestly. So
I agree. And the last quick thing I want to say on Lance, because the kind of negative about him this training camp has been the reports like, oh, he's throwing some interceptions. Like we've seen this with young quarterbacks. I remember when everyone was panicking on Mahomes because Mahomes was kind of throwing a ton of picks in his first training camp at the start. Now I'm not saying Trey Lance is Mahomes obviously at all, but I'm saying like this kind of happens with young quarterbacks. Also, he's going against a really fucking good defense every day in practice. 49ers defense is one of the best.
Top defense in the league. So
yeah, so it's not like he's going against some scrubs.
I think the thing to me that's the most encouraging is that they are like Jimmy G is like not practicing. They are they're making it clear. Trey. It's not like
Jimmy G. I'm pretty sure is hurt, but still, yeah.
No, but like the coach has come out and he's like, I told Jimmy Trey's our guy. He knows Trey's our guy. Trey knows he's the guy.
I think like this is a classic Jimmy G. Like, okay, maybe I'm not 1,000%, so I'm just not going to risk anything. If this was a quarterback competition and he had a legit chance to start, he'd be out there trying to win the job.
Yeah.
So I just think the fact that Jimmy G knows it's time to move on. The coaching staff is full in on Lance. It's not one of these scenarios where it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to play the best quarterback, even though Trey Lance might be the shoe. No, there's none of that. It is full on transparent. Trey Lance is the starter. This is Trey Lance's team now. There is no competition. So I think that obviously that was the expectation, but the fact that we're really seeing it is pretty encouraging. If you're a Trey Lance owner, roster, fan, whatever. All right, going into Giants camp, it's been the small shifties that have been getting all the hype. Kadarius Toney, Wan'dale Robinson, the two dudes that at first it was Wan'dale Robinson getting all the hype into OTAs and then into training camp. And then today and yesterday, Kadarius Toney, I mean, you could look over Twitter yourself. It's just highlight after highlight after highlight with him. He seems to be starting to get into that unguardable territory.
Not lying.
Dude, I don't have a ton of Toney, right? I don't have a ton of Toney, just like I don't have a ton of Wan'dale. I am very much more confident in Toney and potentially looking to acquire more of him.
I said this last year's rookie year. It was never when he played, it was really only an injury concern for him last season. I think he would have had one of the better rookie campaigns if he was able to stay healthy, because the times he played, he looked good. He looked like nearly impossible to tackle once he had the ball in his hands. Talent-wise, he was like, I know people ridiculed the pick, but he was a first-round talent. I would be excited. For me, the only thing with Toney is just staying healthy, because we've seen like these injury concerns, and I think that's a legitimate concern for him, and it is priced in. But talent-wise, between the two, like I like Wan'dale, but still, just like I hate to bring up the stereotypical talking point, but it's 5'7" is tough.
You want to know what the problem for me is? It's just the price. Not that he's like very pricey or anything. There's definitely a ton of upside. But
who costs more right now between the two, you think?
Between him,
Toney and Wan'dale.
Toney easily. Yeah. But I'm not really listen, I got my shares of Wan'dale. I got a couple of them. If he's good, he's good. If not, whatever. I'm not looking to acquire more of him. With Toney, I think the problem is, right? So he's priced at $3,600 about in keep trade cut. Basically the same price as Brandin Cooks, slightly under Hunter Renfrow, and then right above Claypool, Watson, D-Hop, Kirk, Michael Thomas, Gallup. Okay, just erase Claypool, Watson, Hopkins from the equation. I might honestly just rather have Kirk, Michael Thomas, and Gallup just for the consistency factor, especially once we factor in the cost and the fact that they are definitely a tier below Toney in terms of price. And then once we start to go more towards the guy that he's ranked around, this might be a hot take. I'd rather have Hunter Renfrow. I think Hunter Renfrow is going to come out here and have another 1,000-yard season. And I think for the fact of the matter is that I'd have an easier time trading for Renfrow than I would Toney.
You would.
I mean, that part's true.
Absolutely.
I just think when you look at the ceilings of the two, like there's a chance if he stays. If you told me right now he's going to stay healthy, I'll tell you Toney's going to lead the Giants in catches and targets this year.
Yeah, congratulations.
I don't think
could
Renfrow...
easily be one of the worst passing offenses in the league.
Hey.
The problem with Toney and Robinson is Jones. I mean, you're not wrong, Joe Herbert. You're not wrong.
But
like,
also, what happens when they draft Bryce Young next season? What happens then?
I mean, I'm okay with that, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're agreeing with me, because if they're going to draft Bryce Young, they're about to be the worst team in the league. All right,
they're going to be in no position to draft Bryce Young. Let's be honest.
Have 2 firsts?
No.
Oh, that was this recent draft. They had 2 firsts.
Yeah, they had 2 firsts.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're just going to be bad. They'll be close. Maybe Stroud.
No, they're not going to be that bad. Giants are going to have like 6-7 wins. That's not good, but it's not number 1 pick. It's not.
I like their new coach, so I mean, we'll see.
The one thing I will take away from this Giants news is, first off, I like both Toney and Wan'dale in this offense. Looking at this offense, I think we're going to see something that we haven't seen from the Giants in a while, and that's just motion in the offense. There's been clips on Twitter and on the internet and every which way of just people are moving on this formation up until snap, and that's just something we really didn't see from the Jason Garrett, Freddie Kitchens offenses. They just lined up and snapped the ball, which is not how the NFL runs nowadays. You watch the Chiefs and you watch all the Bills and all the top offenses in the league. They're getting motion and they're getting people mismatches that they want, and I think they're going to use that to get Wan'dale and Toney the ball. And Saquon, obviously, is going to get his touches. And I think the guy that really is going to be left out of this, and it's turning out to look like one of the worst signings I've ever seen, is
Galladay.
Is Kenny Galladay. Yeah.
Yep.
I think he's going to be the odd man out here. I just think they clearly have a vision of what they want this offense to be. It's a lot of motion, a lot of quick screens, a lot of quick slants, and that fits Wan'dale and Toney.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just think the Kenny Galladay outside big target is going to be underutilized, and he's a guy that I'm not happy if I really have, to be honest.
I just think my problem with the Giants, my last point in the Giants, is that I feel like there's just a big difference in the way that I feel like Daniel Jones should be used and what Brian Dable is going to want to run and what the Giants should do based on their personnel. Because, like, okay, if you spread the ball out and have Daniel Jones throw a bunch of quick passes like he did at Duke, okay, fine. I could see that working, right? And just kind of go dinky dunky. We have a halfway decent running game, fine. But the problem is that I'm just not confident enough in Daniel Jones to consistently throw the ball medium and downfield when we have a lot of receivers running patterns. I think that that's just something he's historically struggled with, which means I want to see the Giants run the ball. You know, you just spent a good draft pick on a guy like Evan Neal. You have Saquon. You know, apparently the offensive line should be actually good this year for once in the Giants' lifetime.
They have the tackles,
Thank
right?
God.
Like,
we have the tackles and we have the guards.
I do agree with you, Frank, though, and I think that's going to kind of be the philosophy. I mean, I think everyone knows in the building Daniel Jones isn't the long-term guy. He's going to start this year, but I think they know going forward Davis going to get his own QB.
The problem is I think they will win enough games to not be in those picks where you're going to get Stroud or Bryce Young without a significant trade-up.
And it has to be said, Daniel Jones did play really well last year, but you have to see it for a full season because we saw Jared Goff play well for the first 4 games of the season. But
but kind of going to you, Daniel Jones, I do think that's going to be a lot of the philosophy with not asking him to push the ball down the field that much because, I mean, like we saw, they have one guy in Toney where it's like you can get the ball to this guy short and he'll make a play, and they drafted another one of those guys in Wan'dale Robinson, and we've seen kind of like the possession receiver 50-50 ball Galladay kind of like not getting as much attention and like huge plays in training camp. So I think Wan'dale and Toney are a huge part of the Giants plan with like kind of that philosophy of what Daniel Jones did at Duke.
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, going back to piling on to Kenny Galladay, I guess we could save Kenny Galladay for later, but because we are going to talk about him in the struggles section. This could be a quick one. Lamar apparently looks best throwing the ball that he ever has. I don't really think this is a surprise. This guy's been working on his throwing mechanics for the past couple years. I actually saw some. He does look a lot better throwing the ball. I mean, I think he did last year though, for the most part. So
Lamar, I think if he stays healthy, he can easily end up the QB1 this season.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. KJ Osborn apparently locked into the wide receiver 3 spot. As of right now, from the Vikings beat reporters, it's a clear, obviously Justin Jefferson 1, Thielen 2, Osborn 3, Amir Smith-Marset 4. Apparently that's the very clear, defined wide receiver depth chart. And I mean, listen, obviously it could change, but that's what it is right now. But the interesting thing for a guy like Osborn, he was sneaky productive last year, especially because the people that picked him up basically picked him up for free.
Yep.
And apparently the Vikings are going to be running a lot more 3 receiver sets and potentially more, which could mean that a guy like Osborn and a more pass-oriented offense, he's lining up on the field more. Adam Thielen maybe getting just less targets than he has historically. This could mean that KJ Osborn is like a sneaky little flex buy.
I actually agree with you, and I think part of it is because obviously, like for everyone to say, Thielen's getting up there in age. Like, do we feel confident he's going to play 16, 15 plus games this year? I'd probably say he's good for maybe 11, 12. Like, once those wide receivers start to get like 32, 33, and we've seen like some injury history, it's hard to depend on them for a full season. I think when Thielen does play, he's going to be productive. But for like weeks he misses, and they're running more 3 wide receiver sets. RIP the Irv Smith Jr. train. It's been at the station for like 5 years. Just hasn't gone off. Just been chilling there at the top.
Do you know he's still 23 years old?
No.
But dude's been 23 for the past 5 years.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if it's happening with Irv Smith Jr. There are some other young tight ends that I think could break out, but I don't know if he's going to be one of them. So I like Osborn. It just depends on the price. Like, can you get him for like, I don't know what?
Ideally, you'd pay a third, but
I was going to say you'd like to buy him for an early third, but if you have Osborn, are you selling him for like a 303?
Yes.
Type pick?
I mean, maybe you could try a pick swap if you can't, but at that point, I'm not sure it's worth it because you'd have to.
Jake says he would sell Osborn for an early third.
I've never been on the KJ Osborn train. He's the third guy in the third receiver, let alone the tight end, the running backs. On a team that is going to give Dalvin Cook 15 to 20 touches a game. It's just stupid. There's not enough to go around here.
Guess so is Lamar in the 3rd and 20 league. This guy. All right. Quick little victory lap there. Darnold lit it up for the first 3 weeks last year. Yeah, add him to the list of guys that just light it up first 4 weeks of the season, then disappear.
It was so funny. As soon as his McCaffrey dump off wasn't available to him anymore, Darnold just plummeted. I remember it was the Houston game, and then from there it just went downhill.
Smith-Marset injury decided the wide receiver role, but Osborn earned it. Yeah, I don't know. I like Smith-Marset though, so I feel like that's a little bit of slander on my guy there, Joe Herbert. So I'm not really too much of a fan of that. Zamir White. We've actually got the tweet here. Let me pull this up. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, hold on a second. Hold on.
I don't know if you guys also just got the alert, but I thought that one about the Jets was kind of interesting if you want to talk about it later.
No, I didn't. Nah.
With Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson.
Oh my God, I'm struggling.
You can do it.
No. Jake and I can start on Zamir White while you're pulling that up.
All right, boom. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so Zamir White, he's actually someone that Jake and I have kind of liked. I know JT didn't really like him. I forgot if Frank did.
Frank was hot and cold.
I wasn't really huge on him. I think he's a good talent. I just don't like I think he's just a liability in the passing games. All right, here we go. I finally have it. Rookie running back Zamir White has impressed after missing the first 2 days of camp with an undisclosed injury. Quote, he's tough, he has good contact balance, and you can see the growth in new system. Running backs coach Kennedy Palomalu said. Shout out Palomalu. Like so I know Jake was the big Zamir White guy here. It's a running back room that seems a little bit crowded because you have both the guys from last year in Josh Jacobs and what's his name? Kenyon Drake there. But at the same time, they didn't give Josh Jacobs that 5th-year option. It feels like Kenyon Drake could be a guy that just gets phased out of the offense, especially if Zamir White's got a chance to earn some reps in this offense. No one's going to doubt that. Are you buying into this hype, or do you think this is bait?
I am buying into it, but it depends on how far the hype has gone. Because some people start to get like overboard with it, especially with rookie running backs during training camp, because everyone's looking for the next breakout running back. I do think it's kind of legit to warrant it. First off, I don't give a fuck about Kenyon Drake. I could give it like whether he's on the roster or not. I think if they felt that good about him, they wouldn't have drafted Zamir White in the what round? 3rd or 4th? I forgot.
So we're right in that range. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, but I don't think he's really a factor. I think it's going to be Josh Jacobs is obviously going to be the main starter, but you look at things like didn't extend him. How many teams are paying running backs who like aren't like that superstar tier or that star tier? Like if you're kind of one of the meddling middle ones, you usually won't get a big second contract unless you're willing to come back for cheap. And I think that was part of them drafting Zamir White, kind of anticipating that, which I think is interesting for him because it's like if Josh Jacobs leaves in free agency, I think he'll have like a decent role where get touches every game this year as the number 2 guy. And maybe if Josh Jacobs misses a couple games, we'll get to see him full on. But I'm more interested in like next season. There's still going to be Derek Carr, Waller, Renfro, and Devante Adams there. It's going to be a high-scoring offense. So, like, the starting running back who's going to get, and we know they love to use their backs, like, once they're inside the 10-yard line. The starting running back for that team holds legit value to me. So that's where Zamir White is, like, pretty interesting to me this season.
He could easily transition into the handcuff to own role as well. Like, let's say Josh Jacobs goes down.
Yeah, I think he is already. The handcuff to own.
Zamir has the 4th best running back size / speed score at the combine. I mean, yeah, the dude had a ridiculous combine, and no one's going to doubt his athletic ability. I'm just concerned about the fact that I don't think he's useful at all in the passing game. But
what was Jacobs though?
He's fine. He's not.
That's my. I just think.
I think he was low key nice in the passing game, Jacobs, last year.
See, the thing was, I think Zamir White in the passing game, he's not good. Don't get me wrong, but I think he was also taken off the field because they had a guy in James Cook at Georgia.
That is true. I'll give you that.
That was just better than him, much better than him in the passing game, which is, it's obviously a knock on Zamir White here, but I do think he can develop a little bit. Not never be a fantastic in the passing game back, but good enough to be on the field. Am I reading into this? Yes and no. I think the big thing that you see from this is he's back on the field, and he only missed the first 2 days of camp. I think that's the bigger news here. I think, a rookie running back missing time is just a recipe for disaster. So I'm just happy he's back on the field, getting reps. Coach likes what he sees so far. I do think he eventually is the handcuff to own here. Potentially by the end of the season, morphing into a one.
Are you tangibly higher on him now than before with this training camp hype?
I was just high on him entering training camp.
Yeah, I was always high on Zamir White. I had him as my running back 4 in this class. So I just kind of am the same on him, but good to see him on the field.
Looking to acquire more shares?
So, depending on the price, I thought what was an interesting question, it was posed in the Dynasty subreddit, is those tier 2 running backs in this year's rookie class. Like we got James Cook, Dameon Pierce, Zamir White, and
Spiller.
I think it was Rashad White or Spiller.
Rashad White, Spiller. You could probably throw,
like those tier 2 guys. Where does he rank among those? Because I saw some people saying first. I
don't have him at first. I think he's towards the bottom of the
that tier of guys.
I don't know necessarily the bottom of the pack, just because here's the thing. When we're talking about these types of running backs, for me, no matter what, for any of these guys to become relevant, there needs to be an injury, right? Because you look at a lot of these guys, they're behind pretty established RB1s. Yeah, they'll get some
besides
work.
Maybe Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce might be the only one.
Yeah, outside of Dameon Pierce, right? And in terms of a running back that's good enough to get a consistent enough volume to play if the number one goes down, I will actually give that to Zamir White. I think the guy could be pretty decent. He could be a guy that gets that 10 to 15 carries a game, maybe a reception or 2 if you're lucky. I don't think so, but maybe if you're lucky, and can be halfway decent. But I just think that his upside is so much lower than a lot of the other tier 2 running backs, and that's why I'm not going to go out there and acquire him. But he is a lot cheaper than those guys. It has to be said. In your rookie drafts, he's not going inside the top 2 rounds of a rookie draft. You were getting him in round 3, probably.
Yeah, the fact that we put him in the same tier as James Cook, and James Cook in a lot of drafts is going like at the.
I saw him go late first relatively consistently, right?
Yeah. By the end, yeah.
But yeah, I'm not tangibly higher on him, but I guess I could see if you are. All right, let's move into the Packers training camp. So Packers training camp, probably one of the more interesting receiver battles going on in the offseason. As of right now, I guess there's the top 3, it seems like, and Romeo Doubs, Allen Lazard, and Randall Cobb are running with the 1s. I have been seeing Sammy Watkins get a little bit of hype, but he's been running with the 2s. Amari Rodgers is, I guess, nowhere to be found.
No man's land.
Which I think is something to be expected as long as Randall Cobb is there. That role in the slot that you would probably plop him in is just not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I am liking Allen Lazard.
Injury?
Yeah, he's been hurt. He has like a hamstring thing.
Okay.
But a lot of we were going to go into the fallers later. Spoiler alert, he's kind of on there. But Romeo Doubs, the hype train seems to be continuing with him. But to me, it's Allen Lazard. I've wanted to acquire him in leagues. I've been sending out some trade offers. I think I acquired him in 1. I'm going to continue to look to acquire him, even though his price has gone up a little bit. Listen, I'm buying into the hype. I know JT is cringing somewhere, wherever he is, but I want Allen Lazard. I want more of him. I'm completely bought into this hype.
I am with you, and I do think even though he's gotten more hype and his prices went up a little bit, I still think now is you can still get him, because I think once the regular season starts and you see week 1, he maybe has like 6 for 86 and a touchdown or something, then his price skyrockets. At that point, it's too late. And there's still a large portion of the dynasty community. Like, I've seen this sentiment shared a lot online, calling him this year's Marquez Callaway.
I've seen that as well.
Yeah, no, they've all been calling him that. So there are still, I think Lazard is more talented than Callaway. I thought Lazard entering like his season as the wide receiver 1 had shown more than Callaway had entering his season as the wide receiver 1. I still like him. What's his price now still? It's like maybe
so he was pretty
second.
attainable for a 23 second. It definitely depend on the person, but that was his price. He's now creeping up to where he could be out of the range of, if you have a projected mid to late 23 second, he's probably out of there. But if you have what's seen as a middle of the park random 23 second, he definitely still is attainable. He's approaching like 2,900 close to on Keep Trade Cut, which is still decently below guys like Michael Thomas, Christian Kirk, even Gallup, right? Gallup is hovering right below 3,000. So he is behind a lot of those what are seen as high upside wide receiver 2s. I'd say that Allen Lazard right now is like the premium wide receiver 3 in Dynasty, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Jones, Dillon, or Tonyan? That is it.
Aaron Jones, Dillon, or Tonyan, like in Dynasty or for next season? I mean, I think I have the same answer for both. I'll
take Aaron Jones for all.
Yeah, it's probably Aaron Jones. I just think that he's just too good.
Yeah, he's been like a top 10 RB the past 2-3 years. He's 26, which I know people get worried, but he's a receiving back. He's not really a guy that depends on like between the tackle carries. That can go to Dillon and Jones. People think Jones may lead the Packers in like catches this year with how bad the receiving core is. So
yeah, I just think that Jones is seen as one of those dudes, I feel like, where he's got like 1 season left, and I don't really sure that's true. So I'll buy him at that price. Sorry, I kind of cut you off there. Did you have a take you wanted to say on Lazard?
I lost my train of thought on the. Oh yeah, no. At the price he is right now, I like buying that price. Once we get into like, it takes like 112, 201, 202. I'm not paying that for Lazard. I think if it gets to that range for the 23 draft, I'm not doing that. I'd be willing to if it's like a middle second, throw in a late third, but that's about it.
All right, now what about a guy like Romeo Doubs? I think we've all kind of said our spiel on Randall Cobb. I'm a big Randall Cobb guy. I picked him up before the training camp in a lot of leagues, so we've kind of been over him. But Romeo Doubs is another guy that's receiving a lot of hype. A pretty underrated rookie prospect, but I feel like he was that guy that kind of like a Tyquan Thornton. Almost everyone agreed that he was underpriced, right? Going into this season. I guess you had the Christian Watson truthers thinking that Christian Watson would be 100% the dude. And obviously he's not practicing, so it's hard to completely buy into the Romeo Doubs hype. But considering the fact that it's just been an uptick ever since OTAs, I'm a little bit higher on Romeo Doubs than I was before. I do have a decent amount of shares in my leagues. I was thinking about looking to sell, but I think I'm just going to hold.
I think Doubs is a guy where the hype has kind of grown so much that he's just in that if you have him, you're going to hold him. If you're going to sell him, you're going to ask for a lot. And I feel like you're going to really not find many buyers. It's kind of just one of these mixing paradoxes where you're going to want to sell him for more than anyone's going to be willing to buy him for. I kind of with you, Frank. I think that at the end of the day, Lazard, Cobb, and Christian Watson, when he gets healthy, Robert Tonyan, or Aaron Jones, they're all going to be the major parts of this offense. I understand Romeo Doubs has looked good, and I have a few shares of him in a few leagues, but I just think that this is a team led by Aaron Rodgers that likes to throw the ball to guys he trusts, and he trusts Lazard. He definitely trusts Randall Cobb. So there's not much left. He trusts Tonyan. We've seen that. Tonyan had a double-digit touchdown season 2 years ago. So I just think there's not much to go around in this offense. I think it's going to be filled up with a lot of Lazard, a lot of Cobb, a lot of Tonyan, and the running backs in this offense. And Doubs and even Christian Watson to an extent might be left out.
I kind of feel the same about Doubs. I'm not gonna fully buy into it. Like, if you tell me I can get, I don't know, in the 2023 draft, what's his value? Like a mid third, let's say like 305,
You're just not
306.
selling him for a third.
Huh?
What's the point of selling Doubs for a third right now?
I would do it. And
You
for
would
next
do
year's
it?
draft,
I'm waiting for a second, or I will just.
I would
die
hope
on
for
the
like a
Doubs.
late
Okay.
second. I'd be like, if someone wants to give a 2025 late second from like a contender, or like a 24 late second. Obviously, the 23 one I'm figuring is not going to be sent to you. I like Dobbs, but I just think once Watson's back fully running, I don't know how much longer Rodgers can be there. I think all these other guys like Lazard, like it takes a bit for Rodgers to get like used to rookie receivers. Like, even as someone as good as Devante Adams, he was still behind like Jordan Nelson and those guys for like the first 2 years of his career until Rodgers like really got chemistry with him. So like, what about you, Jake? Are you taking like a 23 mid third for Dobbs, or would you want it to be like, it has to be like 301, 302, or just the late second, like Frank said?
Dobbs is just like, it doesn't feel worth it. Like, you probably just spent a mid to late third on him.
Yeah, but I mean, if you told someone
lucky, like
if you told someone entering your rookie draft this year, if you could swap your like mid to late third this year for a mid third next year, you're taking it.
Yeah,
No,
I agree.
No, I'm taking the upside swing, or I'm getting a second.
Okay.
Yeah,
What, I'm trading up 3 picks.
In a stronger draft class.
I think, the argument is it's a stronger draft. You move up a few picks in the third round. But I'm with you, Frank. I think I'd rather hold firm until I get a second, or just ride out the hype. Hopefully he pans out. If not, it's a third year or a fourth year.
The real question is, because this is something that I'm just now pondering, is he worth mass offering for any second? Or is like, once again, are we holding for upside?
If I can get any second over the next 3 years, I'll take it for Doubs.
Yeah.
Because this is a dude that, if you want to sell on rookie hype, I mean, I actually think that could get done in some leagues. If you mass offered him for every second round pick in existence in your league, I actually do think that trade can get done.
Someone eventually.
I could see it. Not in the 23 draft, but like maybe a 25 second from a team that's like feels pretty good and wants like maybe like a young receiver to go along with their win now players. I could see it. If you could do it, I'd take that. Like, if it's like a top 2 team in the league and they're offering you a 25 second, I'd probably still take that.
Romeo Doubs, he ran a 4.7, right? No, I looked it up. He ran a 4.5. Aaron Jones or Saquon for 22. I think I'm taking Saquon for 22 dynasty, whatever. I'm sorry, I'm just a Saquon truther.
For next season, I'll take Aaron Jones. For dynasty, I'll take Saquon.
The answer is always Saquon between those two.
No, I agree with you, Saquon for dynasty. I'm just saying next season I'll take Aaron Jones.
Sold for a second, sold for a third. I don't see Doubs a high upside wide receiver, better pro than fantasy. I could agree with that. I can totally see that coming. And I think that's the concern for Doubs, is that this could just be an offense where, like a lot of those Saints offenses from a couple years ago with Drew Brees, where it's just like this ball is spread around a lot more than people are anticipating. And a lot of people are seeing, this is, anyone could break out, but no one really breaks out, right?
Yeah.
It definitely could be that. All right, let's go on to some more hype. The Dolphins. I mean, I'll tell you what, that Dolphins trio right now of Tua, Waddle, and Tyreek Hill, I don't think I've heard a single negative peep in existence.
Go.
I think actually there's another aspect to the pro Tua now thing. With the news that came out today, that all started from Bill Belichick accidentally texting the wrong Brian, which eventually led to his division rival losing a first-round pick. Tua, it's less of a chance he gets replaced now. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be high enough in the draft. I don't think the Dolphins.
Think of that.
Yeah, no, because they had 2 first-round picks entering next year in like 2 seconds. Where if they felt iffy about Tua this year and didn't want to give him an extension, you could probably use those to move up for one of those QBs next draft. Now they only have 1 first-round pick. And I don't know if it's theirs or the 49ers, but I don't think either of those are going to be early enough for one of those top guys. Yeah, I'm guessing it's the Niners. And the Niners are going to be...
choose? Like,
I don't think so. Sadly, I don't think they get to choose this one.
But
can they tamper with that as well?
Yeah, they tampered. They almost tampered. They were just straight up hitting Brady and Sean Payton when they were with their teams, like not trying to hide it at all.
Yeah, shameless.
What is it? But with now only first round pick, it's harder to replace Tua to be able to move up for one of those QBs.
Okay. Let's not talk about replacing the guy. The guy looks.
No, but I mean
good.
that was a legitimate fear. If Tua disappointed this year, if Miami wanted to move on, they had 2 firsts in this upcoming draft class. I thought that was. It's the same fear with like Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts doesn't move up this year, the Eagles have 2 firsts next year. They'll take a top QB. It was kind of similar with Tua, and now they only have 1. I think that kind of helps him. And obviously, we
Joe Herbert agrees with you. Tua is the winner of the tampering penalty.
He is. No,
but yeah, I think the talk of the town in Miami has been on these receivers. I mean,
yeah,
I think this offense as a whole. I think Mike McDaniel is really what changed this offense with the dual offensive coordinators, defensive head coach combo that they had in Miami last year. Did absolutely no favors to this offense as a whole. To get an offensive-minded head coach, get some motion in this offense, take the deep shots that we've been seeing in camp, and obviously bringing in Tyreek Hill. This offense opens this offense a whole lot. So,
dude, I forgot about the dual offensive coordinators. Yeah, I roasted them so hard last year with that.
Dual offensive coordinators is just ridiculous. So,
oh my god.
Honestly, I just think this team is ready to take the next step. I think this offense especially is ready to take the next step if the defense is not there with them. But I'm excited for the Dolphins. I'm excited. I think we're going to see it. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to die on this hill. I don't care.
But yeah, there's been a ton of hype. And I feel like it's one of those things where Tyreek Hill's price and Jaylen Waddle's price, and I feel like even Tua's price, are going to stay relatively the same for a good amount of the offseason. I mean, maybe Tyreek goes up a smidge, but I really doubt it with his age and just there's always gonna be the perceived drop from going with the Chiefs and the apparent best quarterback in the NFL, which I agree with. To in the it's going to be one of those you have to see it to believe it sort of a things for the keep trade cut price and the community to really buy in on them. But I guess the question is, are you buying the Dolphins? Are you going out and buying? And if so, which one?
The problem is that the receivers are going to be too expensive, especially Waddle. Waddle's going to be very, very expensive. He already was. Just being, a second-year wide receiver, set the rookie receptions record, whole 9 yards. I know he got Tyreek Hill on the other side. I really don't think that affects his target share too much. I mean, they lost Devante Parker, and they just spread the receiver. I think it affects really Gesicki. Yeah, it's going to affect Gesicki, but the price on both him and Tyreek Hill is very expensive, and Tyreek Hill is a guy that I'm not really looking to buy. It's very tough to go out and buy a 30-year-old wide receiver on a new team that
28.
I know Frank just said all the red flags that are around Tyreek Hill, but that he's still, a top 12-ish dynasty asset right now. So I just think the price on them is too much. But on the other hand, Tua, I think, is very attainable. I think he's hanging around like QB 16, 17 in that range. And at that price, I'm in. I think if you can get him for, a first-round pick, first and a second, I don't really think that's crazy.
Tyreek
first
Hill.
And a second. I've traded away Tua for a first and a second, and I think I ended up. No, I don't think I was going to trade a first and a second for Zach Wilson in the second, third, and 20 league, and then if he wasn't there, I probably would have taken Tua. So yeah, I agree. First and a second seems to be the price for Tua that I've both sold and bought for, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a very fair price for a guy that has as much upside as he does.
It's always been a consistency thing with him and staying healthy. I think he's super
It's
talented.
been his health. Whenever he's played, he's been good. I mean, maybe not always fantasy numbers good, but he's been a winning quarterback. And I just his record as a starter is, I know QB wins is a misleading stat, but like his record as a starter is phenomenal.
It's pretty decent.
So,
maybe it's because I have one share of Tua now, but the thing that I find the most interesting about this is that I really like the reports that early offseason we saw him really revamp his throwing mechanics for getting the ball out with more velocity and quicker. You saw, I'm not sure if you guys saw the tweet, but there was a tweet from the guy that he worked with that showed like from last year, right after his injury through the rehab up until now. I mean, you see the difference. And as well, one of the most attractive stories that I've been hearing is that he's getting the ball out on time. He's playing really confident. And if that is actually true, then that is something that I think is extremely attractive if you have Tua or are looking to purchase him, because that to me is one of those things that can really make the difference as a pocket passer. And if you're supposed to be an accurate quarterback in the league that is not making money when the play breaks down or doing things off schedule, if you are going to be an on schedule passer in the league, things like when you're running a 10-yard out, right? You can't take an extra hitch and throw that if you really want to be one of the elite quarterbacks, especially when you have the receivers that they do, because you want to give these guys enough time to get out of their break, catch the ball, and still have space on the sideline to make a move and get more yards and potentially a touchdown, right? The little things like that is what is going to set Tua apart. That's what the reports have been saying. So I guess that's all I'm going off. But if that is actually true, that is something that could be very, very, very good for Tua.
Well, the other thing on top of that is apparently he's been much more willing and much more confident in his deep ball. I know everyone bashes his deep ball. I don't know why. He just didn't.
Well, it's just last year they didn't throw a lot.
They didn't throw the deep ball. That's not his fault. And I think this year in camp, you're seeing him go deep and hit these, speed guys on the outside in Waddle and Tyreke. And it's just going to be a thing you see multiple times a game in this offense, and it's going to really make the defense respect that and really open up a lot of the field because of it. I like where this team is going. I'll say it again. I'm going to die on this hill. Dolphins offense is going to be good.
I still think I'm the same on Tua, though, at the end of the day. I think it's still, I have to, maybe I'm a little bit higher than before. Like I'm slightly higher. But I still have him plopped around the same place I had him before, the same tier of quarterback, right? I'd still prefer Zach Wilson. Like there's that tier of like Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr.
What has Zach Wilson shown that
he can pull cougs? That's what he's shown.
He has a better arm. I don't think you can deny that.
Does he?
Yes. Zach Wilson has a better arm than Tua.
I don't know.
All right, let's move on though to the Chiefs. Skyy Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster have been all the talk in Kansas City for fantasy purposes. Both of these guys have been playing very well in training camp. I guess we can cover it right now. Skyy Moore had a slight injury scare, but he posted on Instagram that he's fine, so that doesn't seem to be anything that will impact him. But Skyy Moore, instantly one of the biggest rookie risers as of right now. A lot of people, like a lot of the beat reporters are saying, oh, we thought coming in that this guy maybe would take a little bit of a year to be on that level. But they're all saying, no, this guy is here. He's ready to get a lot of snaps early on and could be a very productive receiver early in his career.
I mean,
he's going to get every opportunity to get early snaps.
I just think this is nothing new. I think this is just the Kansas City beat reporters getting a look firsthand at their new receivers. They haven't seen Juju up close. They haven't seen Skyy Moore up close. They're seeing what these guys can actually do. I don't think this is a surprise to really anyone that knows Juju's game or has watched Skyy Moore in college. So,
I mean, I've always liked Skyy Moore. I came into the draft with him as my wide receiver 5. I forgot, but I was like pretty high on him. Very high on him. I think he's gonna be super productive, and I think he's worth. I don't know where he's going exactly now in rookie drafts. I think it's fair if you want to draft him in the 6 to 8 range. Here's my interesting thing with this whole aspect, because I think both are going to have pretty good years. What's the chance that Skyy Moore ends up as the Chiefs' best fantasy receiver his rookie year over Juju?
50,
what odds do you give him? You think it's 50-50?
I
feel like right now a lot of people are assuming it's Juju.
I mean, maybe 60-40 Juju just because he's got the experience on him. I mean, the best receiving option on this team is clearly Travis Kelce, and it will continue to be
That's
Travis
why I say
Kelce
receiver.
until proven otherwise. But between the two of them, I think it's pretty close. I mean, I like Juju. I think he's been underrated in Pittsburgh. I think you're going to actually get to see him be the number one, receiving option, or 1A, 1B with Skyy Moore. So I think both are in line for a pretty big year.
I think the reason why I really like Juju is A, what Jake just said, right? The guy has proven he can be productive, and B, from what we've seen out of these clips from training camp and what we saw, what he was able to do 2018 with Ben Roethlisberger, when he has a quarterback that is good at extending plays and can really stretch the ball down the field and isn't on an offense where they have to run, they're only running RPOs and small dump offs and play actions and using them in the slot. This guy can be sneaky dangerous downhill and downfield. And if he brings that element of his game back in Kansas City, we're talking about a dude that has some of the most underpriced upside in Dynasty. Not that it's completely underpriced. He's going to be more expensive than that keep trade cut price says. But fact of the matter is that if I really wanted Juju, and it's almost the 1-year contract that's turning me off from actually doing this. If I have a 2023 first, I can trade that 2023 first and get Juju plus in every league. There is no person who's turning that down. Okay, maybe Juju's mom will, but that's it.
That's true. You're not wrong. I think people are kind of lower on him because the Chiefs' offense is kind of always just carried two of the receivers, with one of them being Travis Kelce, and I think Travis Kelce is still a lock to be in that top two, but he'll be number one this upcoming year.
Yeah, but Nico Hardwood was the number 3. Byron fucking Pringle.
Yes, now they have this. This is the best number 2 they've had since Mahomes has been there in terms of Skyy Moore versus Juju, because normally it's just Tyreek Hill and a bunch of scrubs. But Mahomes would be the one to support 3 like that, but I think people are hesitant because of the Skyy Moore hype. Skyy Moore is going to take that number 1 spot by week 6 or 7.
Here's the thing. Here's the one thing and the one way I see it. Last year, Deebo Samuel was at a pretty darn similar price to Juju, and what was the reason? Injury. That's it. To me, it's the same thing with Juju. The situation is better. He's in a better offense, but because he was injured the past couple, I don't think he has the same upside that Deebo does. I'm not coming out here and claiming that he's going to be all of a sudden become half running back and start putting up 18 points per game. But everyone agrees that he's underpriced at his current price. He has these couple of little issues that make him slightly too unattractive to really throw out and get. But I feel like if you buy him at this price, there are way more cases where you look back on the deal and say, man, I got a really good receiver at a good price, then fuck, I shouldn't have done that.
That's a fair point. I do kind of like that concept of, obviously I don't think he'll be as good as Deebo, but people are kind of too low on him and he's going to have a bounce back year and everyone's going to remember, oh yeah, he was a beast his first 2 years in the NFL. Man, it's hard to tell. I just really like Skyy Moore. It'll be interesting to see. I'm really fascinated to see how both of them kind of work out in that offense.
What's going on, Nicholas J? I got Skyy in one dynasty and Pickens in the other. Lucky man. You're having a good offseason right now. All right, let's go on to the Tennessee Titans. This is almost like the 3rd and 20 podcast versus Joe Herbert here with Treylon versus Kyle Phillips. But as of right now, Tannehill just talked up both of them, saying that Treylon's got a really nice catch radius. There's a couple clips from Treylon making some really nice catches. And Kyle Phillips is also getting some hype. He looks like he's a shoo-in to be the starter in the slot receiver role for the Tennessee Titans this year. Yes. We have seen that role in this offense be kind of sneaky productive with a guy like, who's that white dude? Humphreys, was it, right? Humphreys, I'm not getting that wrong. He went to Washington after. I mean, he wasn't crazy productive, but there's a good chance that a guy like Kyle Phillips just might be more talented than him. But both of these guys are getting talked up by Tannehill, the Tennessee rookie receivers. So I think we're all pretty high on Treylon. We weren't going to take any of the bait early in the offseason with the asthma or or any of that. But Kyle Phillips, are you guys higher on Kyle Phillips, or you just don't care?
In the Tennessee offense, like I still like Treylon Burks a lot. I'm forgetting off the top of my head the other receiver they brought in.
Walt Dog 1, 2, 3, 4. 10 is tanking. No need to talk about them.
Out of the emoji. Oh man. I was gonna say it's hard. Who's the veteran receiver they signed besides Treylon Burks?
Robert Woods.
Robert Woods. In the heavy run first offense, like when you already got Robert Woods and Treylon Burks is going to be the receiver number one receiver for years to come. It's hard for me to kind of buy into Kyle Phillips hype unless they have like a whole offensive identity change, maybe a year or two from now, if like they decide to move on from Tannehill. But as long as like the offense is how it is now with Tannehill and Derrick Henry, the number 3 receiver isn't really going to see much at all. If anything, the number 2 really doesn't see much either. So Kyle Phillips I'm kind of off on, but I still like Treylon Burks. I think he's being underrated. Like we talked about it a couple weeks ago when he fell to like wide receiver 29. I thought that was pretty crazy. Like I'm not the highest on him, but I think that's just way too low. So I still like Treylon. I don't care about any of like the asthma, like paranoia, all that. I think he's going to be good. But Kyle Phillips, I'm not buying that hype.
Do you agree, Jake? Just not buying into it?
Maybe he's a once in a blue moon flex play. It's just that they're not going to support enough receivers in this offense.
Can't decide on my startup. Either get Hunter Henry as my second tight end, draft KJ Osborn as wide receiver 6, or do I go with a running back since I only have 3? Round 15. What's your league settings? That's the kicker right there. All right, Nico Collins going into Houston. Nico Collins is balling. Brandin Cooks is impossible to cover. We did say, I think it was last episode or maybe the market segment, that Nico Collins was going to see a little bit of a bump because of no John Mechie. I mean, Jake, you're kind of the Nico Collins guy. Are you buying into this Nico Collins hype?
Yeah, I like Nico Collins. I think obviously with Mechie going down, RIP, hope he gets better. But I think this offense opens up a lot for Nico Collins. You're going to see a lot of targets available for him, and Brandin Cooks is obviously going to get his, but Nico Collins, it came on at the end of last season, and I'm just excited to see him continue to improve.
Yeah, I don't really know what to think on Nico Collins. Like, I did like him last year. I'm probably looking to sell him more than buy him, but I don't know. Maybe he is balling. Fuck, who knows, right? And
Yeah,
Brandin Cooks is Brandin Cooks.
People are saying Davis Mills is the night. I mean, I like Nico. I think Brandin Cooks gets eventually traded. Maybe not this season, but if not next offseason, I think we'll be on a new team. Nico, I like. He will hopefully be their long-term number 2. I don't think their eventual future number 1 is on the team yet. They'll be able to do a bunch of stuff next year's draft. I actually, you know what? He might have a better season than people expect because of how often the Texans are going to be playing behind teams on some like baby Allen Robinson on the Jags type of stuff, like from a couple years ago. Like him and Brandin Cooks, I could see just piling up receiving yards in the fourth quarter when the Texans are down like 2 or 3 scores. So I think that's the sneaky upside here. But yeah, I mean, I've liked Nico Collins. I don't think he's anything special, but I like him.
Superflex 12-team PPR start 3 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 quarterback, 1 superflex, 1 tight end. I mean, you're round 15 in a 12-team league. I feel like there's good players around round 15.
If what was the question originally? Like, who should he take, or like?
He said he can't decide. His suggestions were Hunter Henry, KJ Osborn, or like Haskins or Ronald Jones.
With that tier of guys, I would see if maybe Dale Henderson's there. I mean, I don't know how many other running backs are there at that point if you're at the Ronald Jones tier. If Ronald Jones is at the top of the running back list, if Henderson's underneath him, I kind of like Henderson. I'd be looking at the receivers. If you could list some more of the receivers that you think are going to be around there, I'd probably look in that direction. Or like kind of the sleeper tight ends, like if Toney has fallen, I think he could be a nice pick that late in the draft.
I mean, are there not guys like Tyquan, Thornton, and
Yes.
Romeo Doubs available there?
If Tyquan Thornton's there, that's the easy pick.
Just because I think right now, like,
I
we're
mean,
talking
even guys like Tyler Boyd and Curtis Samuel, Nico Collins, who we just talked about. I feel like those are a lot of guys. Josh Palmer.
Josh Palmer is another one I really like.
Like, there's a bunch of guys in that 15th, 14th, 15th, 16th round that you can actually get like solid flex plays out of. And I think like going after, handcuff running backs is not the way I would approach that.
Now, what about? I'm assuming that like Wan'dale is gone and like Jaylen Tolbert. I'm assuming that those guys are off the board because to me in round 15, like I'm just gonna draft a guy that I feel like I can comfortably trade for a second. Not that I'm actually gonna trade him for a second, but it's like the problem with me with picking up some of those running backs or like a Hunter Henry or something is that you're immediately investing in a player that is going to be annoying as nuts to trade. Or like if you want to, let's say you have an injury, like you said, oh, I only have 3 running backs. Well, I just want to take a guy that has enough value and enough upside so that if he pans out, I get a nasty player in the 15th round. Or
yeah,
I could trade him for a second and then trade a second into a running back or trade him for a running back, right? Like,
yeah, 15th round, I'm not really looking at like, oh, I need this position. Let me draft my favorite guy at that position. 15th round, I'm just looking for guys with most value. Even if you're more loaded at that, cool, it's a trade piece. Or one of your other guys becomes a trade piece and that guy moves up in the pecking order.
I don't think Hunter Henry's a bad pick, though. It's just if it's not tight end premium, then it's a little bit less attractive because I think tight end premium, he gains a serious value jump with his limited amount of target. Not limited, but like he's not going to be one of those dudes bagging 120 targets.
Joe Herbert, beat reporters say Thornton will need to make Pats a special teams gunner.
He's going to make the team.
They just spent a 2nd round pick on him, and the receiving core is not very good. He's going to get every opportunity in the world to be the starting outside receiver. I'm sure he'll.
I think it was a joke, Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Let's say. Okay.
that one whooshed me as well. All right, run through some of this last hype. Jahan Dotson. I mean, just continuing the hype from OTAs.
Over that wide receiver 2 spot.
Yep. Allen Robinson. The coaching staff has really been raving about him. Could see that Odell type production as the wide receiver 2 in the offense.
I gotta see it first. I think Odell last season was more talented than Allen Robinson this season.
Sure, but I think it's more the system. Like you're gonna put a guy that's had 1,000 yards and
I think he'll be all right.
And double-digit touchdown seasons before in this offense with Cooper Kupp on the other side. He's gonna see a lot of single coverage, and that's something that he's not seen in a long, long time being on the Bears. So
I mean, if teams were smart, they put the double coverage on Mooney by the end of last season with how Allen Robinson played.
Listen, I think Robinson's going to have a good season here with Matt Stafford.
He'll have a bounce back year. I don't think it'll be amazing, but he'll have a bounce back year.
Yeah, Nicholas, I don't think if you like Hunter Henry, I think that's a pretty decent pick as a contending team. I mean, your team looks pretty decent. I do agree with Skull. I'd be looking for a running back, but I feel like if you shore up that last tight end spot, then you can spend the rest of your draft picking up the handcuff running backs, and then you're pretty much chilling at receiver, quarterback, tight end at that point, and then you just have a slew of handcuffs.
Question: are any of those like tier 2 rookie running backs there, like the guys like Zamir White, Dameon Pierce?
Yeah, no, they should be.
I'd be looking that way. I think that's interesting. You could get Dameon Pierce or something, or Zamir White.
All right, so yeah, last bit of hype. I mean, there's plenty of other guys that have gotten hype. We're just running short on time here.
Yeah.
Isaiah McKenzie and Khalil Shakir making real nice use out of Jamison Crowder's absence/slow return to training camp here. Is this just big season, or do you actually like either of these guys?
Khalil Shakir, we'll see. He was a rookie. He's a rookie entering this year, so I want to see McKenzie. Like he'll have that one occasional play where he breaks free deep and Josh Allen just makes a ridiculous play. I like Gabriel Davis as a wide receiver too, but outside of Diggs, like fantasy, not even just for the receivers, but the tight ends and how the running backs are going to shake up. Buffalo's impossible to predict because Josh Allen does so much of it, and like Stephon Diggs has like a ridiculous target share. And I think Davis is the one who's like kind of benefiting off the coverage Diggs gets. Those other guys, like, if you're asking me if I'm putting real stock into them, like, am I going out and buying Isaiah McKenzie? No, I'm not. Do I like Khalil I cannot pronounce his last name. Khalil Shakur. I am struggling. I cannot pronounce names.
It took you 5 times and you still got it wrong.
I'm just gonna say Khalil. Khalil S. I like as a late round rookie pick. So if I have him, I'm just keeping him if I draft him late round. But I'm not buying McKenzie. It's hard for me to buy that hype.
All right, I am not buying any of Khalil Shakir. I think Khalil Shakir is a massive bait. I think he's the exact type of dude to look good in training camp. He can really make some flashy catches. We saw it at Boise State. But I just, once again, this is the reason I didn't like him coming out of the draft. He's got great stats. He has the flashy plays. But I am not going to believe in a guy that can't separate in the slot and I think has poor route running. And he looks slow. So I'm not surprised that he's having a good camp so far. But I think when push comes to shove and you go up against some of these physical teams, especially with some of the DBs in that division, I don't like it. Now, Isaiah McKenzie, on the other hand, I actually low-key do like. This is probably going to be good old Frank buying into the bait garbage receiver who puts up like 500 yards and is never fantasy relevant. But I have liked what I've seen out of Isaiah McKenzie when I've watched some of the Bills games back on tape. I thought that he was a dude that was a little bit underutilized. I do agree. How does this guy... Jake just said it looks like it dipped.
Lost Jake.
Yeah, it looks like we may have lost Jake.
Hopefully we get Jake back.
The thing is, I do share the concerns, right? How does he see a consistent role in the offense? Because I do think that Jamison Crowder, when push comes to shove, is a better player. There are 2 more receivers above him, potentially plus a tight end, and now they add an actually good receiving back in James Cook, and they have another decent receiving back in Devin Singletary. It's like, I understand the concern. I'm not going to buy Isaiah McKenzie. If I could pick him up for free, if I had him, sure. But if I were to pick one, I'm picking Isaiah McKenzie.
I'll take Khalil S. I don't know what
I think KJ Osborn could go off with more passing in the new. Yeah, we were talking about KJ Osborn earlier.
Yeah.
He's just another one of those dudes that it's like we all know he's a good player, but
we did talk about him earlier. So if you watched this episode, there was like a segment, all 3 of us gave our takes on him over like a 5-minute stretch. I like him. It obviously depends on the price to try to get him, but I think Irv Smith Jr. is kind of out of it, and Jaylen, we'll see how healthy he stays. But I like KJ Osborn. What's up, Jake? You back with us?
See,
yeah, no, that happens to me too. That happened to me with the work call last week.
I think one of the problems I have with Osborn compared to some of the other players is that more so now than ever, unless I'm going with a specific strategy in these startup drafts, I am drafting for value and value alone. Because if I need to pick up cheap points or points in general with a valuable team, that's a whole lot easier than trading for value when you have an old points team.
Yeah.
So like that's where I kind of go back to. I feel like I'd rather just draft Romeo Doubs when the draft is over, or even during the draft with this pick, mass offer that player, Romeo Doubs or this pick, for every second round pick in your league. I am not joking. I would offer it for every single second round pick in existence. And I feel like if you take a guy like Doubs who's getting a lot of hype in camp, there's at least like a 60% chance, maybe not more, that it's accepted. Ask Pete to the R. I'm pretty sure he commented not too long ago that the bulk trade strat works. It works.
It works, man.
All right, so that's all the hype. We can start to get into some of the struggles now. This is where it's like really baity because we're just in the beginning of training camp. Steelers quarterbacks have not been looking good, apparently. Mitchell Trubisky, in all of 7-on-7 or something, one of the periods, has not thrown a touchdown pass. Kenny Pickett
wait. In like one day or throughout like 4 or 5 days?
like a couple of days. He has not thrown a touchdown pass.
Those
apparently.
stats are
Been
always
7 on
iffy
7.
because like I've seen a play where he hit like Pickens deep, and then like Pickens would have had a path to the end zone, but they just like blew the whistle at the 10. Like
it's in one of the periods. It's in one of the periods.
like I mean, I saw the report Trubisky has a full.
Don't shoot the messenger, Lunas. Listen, I'm rooting for Trubisky out here, right?
I'm defending your guys. I'm defending your. I think Trubisky. They said it's his starting job to lose, so he'll be the starter. And the big thing has been people saying Pickens has looked really bad. Pickens is a rookie quarterback going up against a very good. Pickett. I said Pickens.
Pickens has looked very good.
Yeah, Pickens has looked great. Pickett. He's going up against a good defense, and it's like he's a rookie. I know he's not as. I don't think he's as talented as a lot of like conventional first round QBs from years past. But I think we just give him time. I'm not really over.
Well, dude, I'm pretty sure he's taking all these second team snaps. Dude, our second team offense is probably cheeks.
Awful.
I mean, we're talking about an offensive line that I'm not sure knows left from right. Like we're talking about some
they have 3
real
left guards.
buns, all right?
And we've seen this before, where like the rookie when he's with the second team offense looks like pretty rough, and then when they go to first team, it's like, oh man, crazy how they look better. Like I remember the same thing happened with Trey Lance last training camp. So it's way too early to judge. The Steelers QBs. It's not like I'm really high on them. I'm not putting much value into this until I see them in the regular season.
No, I wouldn't take Garoppolo. I'm avoiding Garoppolo. Like, yeah, his price could go up, but I just think that there's safer bets with your pick from some of the players that you've listed. Because like, what is Garoppolo's upside? A second?
Even that, maybe super late second. I don't really
like. You already have quarterbacks, so the whole like, oh, I need a quarterback argument doesn't really come into play. I'm staying away from Garoppolo.
Where is he going to start? If it's not Seattle,
like maybe he takes a backup job and starts next year. Like I could see that, but then again, it's like I'm not playing that game with Garoppolo.
Next year is a good rookie QB class. There's gonna be I don't know. A team traded for Carson Wentz and no one's traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. So
listen, if this was round 16 or 17 or maybe not even 16, if this was a couple rounds later and like it just makes too much sense. Yeah, I'll draft him, but I just think that there are players on the board that you could realistically sell for a second round pick. And going back to the mass offering strategy, I don't think anyone's traded a second round pick for Garoppolo. Like you're just picking a player who's trending down.
Yeah.
All right, Christian Watson or lack thereof has been struggling. I guess struggling. I hate to put him in this category, but he's like in between the injury / struggling. There just hasn't really been positive news on Christian Watson, right? You know, he's one of the few rookies where the outlook seems to be looking more grim than positive. He hasn't gotten to play yet, so there's the big asterisk there.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, he's trending down. All right, listen, do you guys still have complete faith in him?
Yeah. Well, it depends what like you expect him to be, but I still like him. I'm not any lower on him from this. It's unfortunate that he's dealing with an injury. But I mean, like we've seen rookie receivers in the situation before. Okay, before I say the example, I'm not saying he's him. He would never be as good as he was. I'm just pointing to example of injuries. They may slow you down initially, but your talent will take over. Odell missed like the first half of his rookie year.
That's not the same.
I just said it wasn't the same. It's not. Odell was a significantly more talented receiver. Christian Watson will never be as good as Odell was throughout like that like year stretch. But it's more so to the concept of like it sucks when it happens, but give them some time and they'll get in there. I'd be more concerned if he was fully healthy and just super quiet. I think that would be concerning. But with the injuries, I don't know. I'll just give it some time. Hopefully, he's able to play like the like preseason weeks 2 through 4, and we can kind of see him more. I don't know how long the injury is supposed to take. I would like to see him this preseason as someone who defends him. But
Joe Herbert, Watson and Burks, the Bust brothers.
Oh my god.
All right, going on to Miles Sanders. I actually saw this report in one of my dynasty leagues. Someone brought it in there, but apparently, Kenneth Gainwell has been running with the ones.
It was one practice and Sirianni completely shut it down. That's the tweet I put in there. He said the next day, he's like, we just rotate backs a lot because we will use different backs. Like I expect Gainwell to be their main receiving back, and I think he'll have a role in the offense. but he said multiple times that Miles is their guy as like the main like rusher. I'm not even just saying this is Miles Sanders fan. I'm saying this is an Eagles fan following all the training camp reports. Miles is going to be the guy getting the most carries when he's healthy. I think Gainwell will have a role receiving back wise, especially. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a third down back. We saw Miles Sanders have a little bit of struggles in the receiving game since his rookie year. And I think Gainwell is a much better receiver. But if in terms of we're talking like who's going to be the guy getting like 15 to 18 carries a game, it's going to be Sanders.
I would say like, oh, Paddock on Miles Sanders, but it's like, well, what are you going to trade him for?
No, you keep him at this point.
Like Miles his price Sanders, is kind of already in the gutter.
Yeah, Miles Sanders' price is too low.
Because if he's healthy, he'll have 1,000-yard season. I'm pretty confident in that.
Ooh, I don't know.
No, if he's healthy, yeah, his per game rushing average once he was like back from injury last year, like the last 6 games of the season, was like well over 1,000. They have the best. You can argue the Eagles have the best O-line in football. They're going to be a run-heavy team. If Miles Sanders plays at least 13, 14 games, I'd bet money on him surpassing 1,000 yards. But I do think Gainwell will have a role as a receiver in this offense, and that's kind of a change of pace. I think the big thing with Gainwell is, because we've seen Sanders have his injury issues before, is like last season, is being for sure lock that number 2 guy and not having like the guys like Jordan Howard, Boston Scott kind of end up like if Sanders gets hurt or like when they cycle them in and out, him kind of be lower on the pecking order. Because I think if that's the case, he can have like a real impact this season and like legit value, because they're not going to use a workhorse back. Like they might give Sanders 16, 17 carries a game. There are going to be other running backs that get like 8 to 10 as well. And then that's just carries, never mind the catches Gainwell may get. And it's looking like it's trending in that direction. He's been getting reps over Boston Scott, and Jordan Howard's no longer on the team. So I think Gainwell can have a pretty good season, because I think that's the big thing for him, like being the definitive number 2 behind Miles Sanders for both rushing and receiving. And I think he could be successful. That's my Eagles insight, because I've followed too many Eagles beat reporters.
All right, Mike Gesicki apparently blocking more. Didn't see a single pass in training camp.
Not surprised.
A couple days ago. Well, that's what we were kind of getting at with the Dolphins earlier, where there's a ton of hype with these receivers, but what's going to happen to a guy like Mike Gesicki? Listen, I think Mike Gesicki's a good receiver. Like
they haven't given him that extension either.
I want to be in on him, because I feel like this could be a buy low scenario, but I just think I'm out. I want to sell at the price that he's at keep trade cut if I can get it.
So if I have him, I might sell now. Where I think it's interesting, because correct me if I'm wrong, they have not given him the extension, right? And this is the last year of his deal.
He's playing on the tag this year.
Yeah, I like Gesicki on another team way more, and I actually may look to buy him towards like the end of the regular season or next off before free agency, because I think he's not going to have a good year. I think this is an offense that's going to be looking to try to get the ball in Jaylen, Waddle, and Tyreke Hill's hands like 8 times a game each. I think that's going to be their minimum. Yeah, like they're going to be the guys who are just an insane amount of targets each. So that kind of leaves Gesicki on the outside, but the thing is, I believe in his talent, so I think he's going to end up on a different team after this season. And at that point, I'll buy low on him. But for right now, yeah, I'm out on Gesicki for next season. It's going to be all Tyreke and Waddle.
Yeah, I think his target share goes down slightly from what we've seen in the past, just because, he was clearly the number 2 option last year behind only Jaylen Waddle. Now he's clearly the number 3. So I think his target share goes down a little bit. I still think he has a solid year. I think he's in that wasteland of tight ends where we're just like, he'll have his good weeks, he'll have his bad weeks, and end up somewhere around tight end 10 to 15 and just be, a low end tight end 1, flex play, whatever you want to call it. Just a wasteland tight end that we've seen that's very touchdown dependent. But overall, I don't think this report has any effect on Gesicki's value.
All right, Kenny Golladay, another guy that we kind of touched on earlier that we all seem to be like, I guess, souring on a little bit. There was that report that was like, oh, this is looking like one of the worst signings, right? Like
Oh
of the
no, the
past couple off
contract is
seasons.
terrible. Yeah.
Um,
If you have Galladay as someone, I have Galladay in my main league. I think it's already so low. You might as well just try to keep him.
Yeah,
Like,
that you can't do
you-
anything
I'm
at this
not.
point. Like
Yeah,
you'd be
like
selling for a late third, if that. At this point, it's
yeah,
just
like
he's a
I
28, 29-year-old wide receiver that's coming off a horrible year, and the team's just spent back-to-back first and second round picks on wide receivers. It's not looking good.
Yeah, no, at this point I'm keeping Galladay if I have him. I don't feel good if you have him in your starting lineup. I guess maybe if there's like two flexes, I don't know. Just counting on like Wan'dale taking some time to get fully into the offense as a rookie. I'd keep him and then just try to sell him later on, because I do think he'll have some weeks where he plays pretty low. Like it's still Kenny Galladay. Like he's not like someone who's never had good seasons. If he's fully healthy, I still think he's a talented receiver. So at this point, like you can't sell him. If you want to buy him as a contender, if you can get him for like that mid to late third as like someone who's like can be a plug-in flex play on guys if like some of your starters are injured, if they have bye weeks, I kind of like that idea, sending like a late third to try to just pick him up as another bench piece if you're a contender. But if I have him, I'm not selling him at this new low. It's way too low for someone who's has shown talent like he has before. So I'll just wait.
I just think he needs to get out of New York.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
This is the type of he needs to have an Odell. Let's go to the Rams on a sick passing offense. Then he'll be good again. I guess lastly, this one's a little bit of a speculative one. Chris Olave apparently the other day was just like over 5 on all of his targets, especially with Michael Thomas seeming to be in full strength. I guess like if we're gonna look at any of the rookie players, like it's Kenny Pickett, Watson, and Olave. It seems to me as if like any of the top rookies that would be trending down, but it's a speculative trending down, 100%.
Yeah, I got nothing on that.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna be involved. I don't know how much as a rookie, but he'll be involved.
No, it's with rookie reports. Do not put too much context into it. Like we've seen the past 2 years. I mean, obviously before his Achilles tear, but like Cam Akers can't start with only against Malcolm Brown. Doesn't know how to pass protect. Last year, Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver 3 on the offense. Jamar Chase can't catch like anything. Like with these like elite rookies, if it's someone who's like not that talented, sure, but if you know someone's like extremely talented, and Olave is a first round talent, he was drafted in the first half of the first round, I'm not putting too much stock into it this early. It's too overreactionary.
Yeah, I agree. All right, real quick, I want to run through some of the potential low key free agent signings that seem to be getting some camp hype that you can probably pick up in your leagues. First is Michael Woods for the Browns. This guy, Nick Carnes, just another day of camp and another day of Michael Woods shining. This is a trend. It's time to take note. Apparently, Michael Woods has been having a pretty good training camp, and in a situation where Amari Cooper, I don't think, was practicing. David Bell has been on the PUP, so there's been an opportunity for a potential wide receiver 3. Maybe there's a chance that he could take over Donovan Peoples-Jones and Anthony Schwartz for that wide receiver 3 spot on this team, and you could probably pick him up for free. So first guy that you should probably have on your radar, especially if you have some open roster spots. The second one that I have listed here is Dennis Houston. One of the reporters asked CeeDee Lamb who the rookie wide receivers to him that stood out the most. And he said that Houston was one of them alongside Jalen Tolbert. He said he's smooth in and out of breaks. His releases are A1. So, especially with the injury to James Washington that we might touch on quickly later. We're running out of time here. Dennis Houston is a guy that definitely has some upside, has an opportunity in Dallas, especially if they don't sign another receiver. Will probably be competing with guys like Simi Fehoko, Noah Brown, and some of the other back-end guys for potentially a wide receiver 3 spot to start the season if Gallup can't play early. So he's another dude that could be a sneaky little addition to your team if you need receive. These are all receivers, by the way. So another dude, Kevin Knight. He's a Falcoholic Kevin on Twitter. On another note, I think UDFA receivers Stanley Berryhill Jr. and Jared Bernhardt are starting to separate themselves from the pack in terms of practice squad contenders. Berryhill's been the best receiver, and the team loves Bernhardt off the field. So just two more guys that you might want to keep on your radar, especially like this is another team that has an open shot for even like a wide receiver 2 spot. As of right now, I think a lot of people think it's going to be Bryan Edwards, but we've seen what happens with Bryan Edwards every season. So two more guys. I wouldn't necessarily pick either of these guys up right now.
Not yet. I need to see
if the hype continues.
It's open because they're competing against it's Bryan Edwards and Auden Tate. And
maybe like a little bit of Cordero Patterson in there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't roster either of those guys, but it's a worth.
But just keep your eye on it. Yeah.
And then a couple guys that I actually like, and I've added these guys already in some leagues. Reggie Robertson for the Titans. He's a dude that I liked a couple years ago coming out. He had a couple injuries at SMU. Deep threat receiver on the Titans. I like his talent, Reggie Robertson. He's a dude that, like I said, I picked him up right after the draft for free in a couple leagues. And I actually do think if you have a roster spot open, he's a good player to roster, especially because it's the type of dude, if you don't see anything the first couple weeks or even towards the end of camp or anything, okay, you have a liquid roster spot. If not, okay, you potentially have a receiver in an open receiver room, right? Especially if there's an injury. Another guy that's interesting, Ashton Doolin from the Colts, a guy that they took in the late rounds a couple years ago. Really athletic receiver, played at a small school, I'm pretty sure. Started to get a little bit of time last year and is definitely in the competition, the conversation for being a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 for Indy. Was getting hyped up a little bit. Once again, kind of like a similar level to Reggie Robertson. If you want to pick him up and you have a back-end roster spot that you want to be a little liquid, go ahead, but definitely not a must-add. And this is another guy I found really interesting, CJ Saunders on the Panthers. He's a converted corner to wide receiver a year or two ago, and apparently he's been lining up with the ones in the slot for Carolina, another team that really has an open receiving core, right? I mean, the Panthers probably have one of the most wide open receiver competitions in the league. I mean, we're talking about you have DJ Moore, and then after that, what you have? What's his name? The dude from Temple.
Robbie Anderson.
Robbie Anderson, who was thinking about retiring earlier in the season. And then who? Shy Smith, who was arrested earlier in the offseason.
Terrace Marshall.
Terrace Marshall. Like
special teams guy.
And I mean, we're talking about a guy like this slot role on the team is like, you tell
wide
me.
open.
Yeah, who is it? So this is the type of player that, once again, a speculative ad. It's for free. There's probably better waiver pickups, but
if
I do like adding these guys
have extra
sometimes.
spots on your roster. That's kind of the situation this is more aimed for. But yeah.
But yeah, these are really dart thrower type players. Keep a roster spot liquid that could pan out potentially. But I just felt like early potential UDFA back end receivers that you may want to keep your eyes on. I think a lot of the quarterbacks, running backs, and tight ends are already basically all known about as of right now. So just some guys to keep your eyes on. And then injuries. Laviska Shenault got hurt. Doesn't seem serious. Najee, same thing, hurt, but he was like back in practice, just not like full practicing.
Tim Patrick one sucks.
Yeah, well, real quick, Van Jefferson is going to have minor knee surgery, looks to be back for week 1. Irv Smith has a thumb injury, also looking to be back for week 1. Then we have 3 actual injuries. Tim Patrick, torn ACL, out for the season. Sucks for him, was a shoo-in probably for the wide receiver 3 spot, a guy that's been pretty productive, especially against man coverage. I guess the big winner from that has got to be
KJ Hamler.
Yeah, KJ Hamler out of Penn State.
Is it KJ
right?
Hamler or Alberto?
No,
I lean Hamler, but I saw some people saying Alberto.
I think it's Hamler. I mean, this is a dude that we saw was relatively productive with limited targets last year. He is coming off an injury, but definitely has an an
I agree. I
opportunity.
think he still has upside.
I mean, and yeah, it's not the craziest upside. It's not the craziest player, but let's also not act like Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton are necessarily guaranteed to have major success. If one of these dudes ends up only being like an 850-yard guy, well, that opens up another door for Hamler to be a potential flex production.
Yeah, I think Jeudy and Sutton are both very talented. I think my more so issue with them is they've never shown both each to be like reliable to stay fully healthy for a 17-game season. And so I think that opens things up. We'll see how both of them look next year. I mostly feel bad for Tim Patrick because I thought he was going to have a surprisingly good year this year with Russell Wilson. But I'm excited for KJ Hamler. What do you? Is he reached like bottom second value? I would send any third for Hamler.
I think he's still a third.
I'll send a third for Hamler easily. I like him. He started to look okay last year until he got injured. So we'll see. And those are most of the main. Oh no, there's still.
There's a couple. James Washington got hurt. It does look relatively serious. Just kind of.
I believe it was a broken foot. I want to say.
Yeah, he broke his foot.
If anything, it just further opens up the Dallas receiver room that with the injury to Gallup already, and the fact that a lot of people are saying that man, I can't remember any names right now. What's that? Jalen Tolbert was going to be the shoo-in for the wide receiver 2 spot as a rookie. It's like it's just wide open.
Yeah.
These back end spots. And then lastly, Quintez Cephas looks like I think he was carted off the field, a potentially major injury.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect much from Cephas this year. They added a bunch of offensive weapons. Offensive got healthy. He was going to be a depth receiver for them at best, so this isn't a big fantasy news.
I was going to say, he was shooting at the wide receiver 4 once they added Chark, Amon-Ra there, and Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Paris Campbell?
I sold a week too early in the fucking stock market thing. Now that I sold him thinking like, oh, he's going to get hype. I sell him after a week, and then this week they're all like, yo, it's finally the Campbell breakout time. So I am annoyed at it. I've seen it all over online. Well, he's talented. He can never stay healthy for shit. And they drafted Alec Pierce, so let that give you the measure of how much faith the Colts have in him to stay healthy. But I mean, good for him. Like, I'm rooting for him. If he stays healthy, I think it'll be interesting. But it's going to be a run-first offense with an easy number 1 and Alec Pierce there, who I think Alec Pierce will take over that wide receiver 2 spot over him. So I'm not going out and buying him. If anything, I think this is the opportunity to resell him for actually some value when he's been at like none for the past year.
All right. I mean, we have some other news. You guys just want to go one take speed run this?
Yeah. Oh, let me at this Cam Akers one, buddy.
Ooh. All right. Alvin Kamara hearing postponed again. Looks like suspension won't happen this season. Who wants it?
See you. Kamara's your guy.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely a value bump for Kamara. I think one of the big concerns was that it's not guaranteed he won't be suspended, right? Especially with the video. If that thing does leak, it could go really haywire. But
yeah,
I think it's got to be a little bit of a boost for Kamara. Was priced as a high-end RB2, and if he's still priced like that, I'd buy him. But that we're talking about a dude that could easily be the RB1 overall, right? Teams keeping tabs on Will Fuller, but expect him to sign later in the preseason.
It's going to be when an injury happens. It's going to be when a team loses like a 1 or 2 receiver.
And exactly what I was going to say.
Rams backfield trending towards split carries. McVay, quote, "We have 2 starting caliber backs," then went on to say that the run game needed to improve. But Lunas, go ahead and victory lap this one, bud.
Thank you. I was the only person who said Darrell Henderson was underrated at like RB 2000. I gotta see it to believe it with Akers, man. And I don't know. He could have came out and said Akers is a starter, but we like to rotate guys here and there. He said we got 2 starting running backs. I think Akers will get the majority of the carries. Would I be shocked if it ended up like a 60-40 situation or a 65-35? I kind of think that's going to be the case. Henderson's a better receiving back. Akers is the better pure rusher, but we'll see how he is off the Achilles tear. How do you guys feel? I mean, you guys were the ones who liked Akers.
No, it's one take. It's one take.
One take, yeah. All I'm saying is buy low on Henderson.
Elijah Mitchell apparently bulks up 10 pounds. A lot of people are saying from 49ers camp that he is still the guy to be the RB1 of this offense.
No, it's Shanahan's offense. They're going to use 5 running backs this season. Don't
trust it.
Don't trust it. I think he's the guy that's going to be given the first shot, as we saw last year. I think he's earned that. But they have Jeff Wilson, Tyrion Davis-Price, a whole other slew of guys that are going to get touches there. It's Shanahan. He uses a million running backs.
And lastly, one of the more interesting topics. I've seen conflicting reports on this, but I saw one guy say that the Chiefs' backfield rotation is set in stone with CEH as the 1, McKinnon as the 2, and the rest of the guys, Pacheco, Jones, and Gore, all rotating in with the 3s. But I also saw guys saying that Pacheco has been rotating in, Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers, been rotating in with the 1s and getting slot work. I guess what's the take with this backfield? Is CEH just 100% the guy? Do we believe in Pacheco? Are we buying any of these dudes? What the fuck is going on in Kansas City?
I do not believe in Pacheco. I think McKinnon, Jones, and of course CEH are all better. I think CEH is going to have a bounce back season. I think a couple other guys have said that too on this pod. I don't remember exactly who did. But yeah, no, I'm just a CEH believer. Pacheco, I'm not buying into because I think McKinnon's a better receiver, Ronald Jones is a better rusher, and CEH is better at both. So
yeah, I also agree that I think that CEH is the RB1 in this backfield. But Jake, are you buying any of these other dudes not named CEH?
I'm taking whoever is the starting running back on the Chiefs. I think that's CEH's job when healthy. As long as he's healthy, it's CEH is the only running back I'd really want on this team.
All right. Well,
with you.
With that being said, that's it for season 3, episode 1. That's a little bit weird to say.
I know, but that just means week 1's getting closer.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We really appreciate it. It really helps us out. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We really appreciate that as well. Good luck in your dynasty leagues in these crazy times, and we pray that your players do not get hurt because we know there's going to be a big injury coming.
Yeah,
we know it's coming.
Lucas lost his 2 young running backs in like 1 week of training camp last year, Etienne and Doubs. It's scary. And
it's even more scary because I keep joining more dynasty leagues, so I just get more exposure to it.
It's a higher chance to get fucked over.
Yeah, my percentage chance of getting boned before the season is just dramatically
exponentially grown.
Yeah, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. Season 3, episode 1 of the books. Peace out.